Allah, we will start the chapter on wudu, ablution. The first hadith is narrated by the great Khalif, the second Khalif of Islam, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, who was the best companion after Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the first Khalif. And in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as Ali radiyallahu anhu said, and Abdullah ibn Umar said, and others, they were saying the best amongst us is Abu Bakr, and then Umar, and then Uthman, and then Ali. And that's how it turned out to be the sequence of Khalifs. First came Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali. So they are in this sequence, both for preference and for Khalifs. Umar radiallahu anhu has narrated this hadith about the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and this hadith can be considered half of the religion, as I will show inshallah now. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. Actions are but by intentions. In some other narrations, إنما العمل بالنية. Action is but by intention, which is the same meaning, but here it is plural. Actions are by intentions, or but by intentions. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has specified in the Quran in many places two conditions for the worship. One is that it should be sincerely for His sake, not seeking anything else in that worship. If someone makes his prayer because he wants to please God and to gain reward for the prayer, but at the same time there are mixtures of other intentions which accompany this in his heart. Like, for example, some worldly gain, any worldly gain that he makes an intention with the intention that he wants to please God by this prayer, then this action will not be accepted by Allah, because Allah said, and as the Prophet ﷺ quoted him in the true hadith, I am the most needless of any companionship. So anyone who does anything seeking companionship with me, then let him go with that whom he sought as my companion. Let him pay him for this action. And in the hereafter, Allah is the king. No one can pay you anything. No one can say anything. Okay. Therefore, intention is very important in Islam. Very important. Very important. A lot of Muslims nowadays, if you see them when they pray, for example, they do every nitty-gritty, as they say, every bit of the actions of prayer, whatever it might be, they do it according to Sunnah. And that's good, beautiful. But how about the most important thing in the prayer? And that's the purity of intention. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know what is the purity of intention, let alone be concerned about it. You see, some people do worships for the sake of Allah partially and for something else, and they think that they have done it for the sake of Allah. You see, this is not the case in worships in Islam. The worship has to be purely for the sake of Allah. Even if you smile in someone's face intending to please Allah, and so that you get by with your need from this brother, for example, or from this person. If those two intentions are combined in the beginning of your action, then your action is not a worship. You see? So one has to be very careful. Yani, smiling is easy. Alhamdulillah, you smile in his face. Good. Okay. And if you do it to please Allah only and to gain his reward, there is a great reward because this is a charity in Islam. You see? So if you do it for that purpose solely, then you get the reward completely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you mix it, spice it up, actually not spice it up, it's putting dirt on it by making your intention a mixture of this and that, you see. Intention is very important, my dear brothers, and inshallah we will go in detail when we reach the chapter regarding this in Kitab al-Tawheed, because this is part of our Tawheed, you see, sincerity. Tawheed is sincerity. Tawheed is pure worship, you see. Therefore we will come to it and we will inshallah explain in detail, because there are a lot of details needed in this, a lot of details. What we said just now is only one thing, okay? But there are many other details regarding this which we will discuss inshallah.
Sheikh, excuse me, I just need to get a pen.
Go ahead, brother.
Pen? Got what?
Yeah, give me one.
Alhamdulillah, that's easy.
Save me here.
Jazakallah khair. So, Umar radiallahu anhu is quoting this hadith, which I said some scholars consider to be half of the religion. Why? Because for every action to be accepted, the purity of intention must be there. This is one condition. The other condition is that your action, your worship, is according to Sharia, according to the Sunnah. The way you do it should be right, you see. So we have two sides of our worship. The inner side, which is the purity of intention. The outer side, which is the truthfulness of your action, doing it right, doing it according to the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This hadith is agreed upon. It's agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim. And this narration about Umar is the only true narration for this hadith. And there are many narrators who narrated it about Umar, but only one true narration is authentic and true. So this narration, even though it's agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim, it is only narrated by one companion, and from that companion, one student, and from that student, one of the students of the students. This is a special classification of the true hadith, which I don't want to go into the detail now, because it's not a class for the science of hadith itself. And I encourage every brother who has time to study this science of hadith, because it will help a lot in knowing the importance of the Sunnah, and not to be fooled by those who reject the hadith with their own minds, with their own opinions, you see. Because rejecting a hadith is like rejecting a verse in Quran. Why? Because Allah said, "He who obeys the messenger has obeyed Allah." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Obey Allah and obey the messenger. He who obeys the messenger has obeyed Allah. Answer the call of Allah and his messenger." You see, so many verses in Allah's book. Therefore,
where can you study this in Kuwait?
There are a lot of brothers who teach this science of hadith. You have just to look a little bit.
And you will find it.
Yeah, you'll find it. Actually, I don't mind. So I taught it many times for the Arab brothers. So I don't mind later on in our
Sure.
to have a special class for this, because I think it's very important. So this is the first hadith. Why did the author bring this hadith here in this chapter? Clear that you cannot just go underwater, under a fountain or whatever, and wash yourself up without the intention of making wudu, and then after that claim that, well, I have made wudu. And we told you, if we ask you how, you said, well, I was under the fountain and all the water came down on me. No, but you did not have the intention to make wudu. If you had the intention to make wudu, that would be good. No problem. Then the intention is a condition. Just like it's a condition for the prayer, it's a condition for wudu, and it's a condition for every action that you want to do as a worship. Let's say, for example, you get up in the morning without any intention of fasting. No intention. But yet, things happened all day, you got busy, you couldn't eat or drink a thing until sunset. You cannot say, oh, alhamdulillah, I have fasted today, you see. So one has to be careful about the intention. So if you want to fast, you intend in the night, you see, before Fajr, because then it would be too late. Okay, then the next hadith about Jabir radiallahu anhu said, I saw the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam pouring water over his elbows. Of course, this is the first part in wudu, to wash the hands. And the author brought this hadith to show that washing the hand includes the elbows. Not up to the elbows, but including the elbows. You see? Some people misunderstand the verse. The verse says, wash your hands to the elbows. إلى المرافق. إلى means to. Okay? But the Sunnah explains the verse. You see? Because in Quran it says pray. Establish your prayer. Preserve, protect your prayer. It doesn't say how. It doesn't say Asr is 4, Dhuhr is 4, Fajr is 2, Maghrib is 3. It doesn't mention a lot of details of the prayer. Nothing is mentioned actually. Okay? Yes, there is a mentioning of prostration and kneeling, but what comes first, kneeling or prostration? If you want to pray by the Quran only, you don't know. You see? And this is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is telling us, follow the Sunnah, follow the Messenger, follow the Messenger. Okay? So if someone says, well, I'll only follow the Quran, we tell him, you can never follow the Quran by itself. Alaykum salam. Faddal, hayyakum. We will tell him, this will never happen. You cannot follow the Quran by itself. Stay. Therefore, washing the hand in wudu means including the elbows. And if you exceed the elbows, it will be better. Not an obligation, but it will be better. As narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu about the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that he saw the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam wash his hands until he reached high in his, what do you call this? Shoulder? Shoulder. Okay. Now. And there is another hadith, or the same hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, the light and beauty on the believer on the day of judgment will be as much as he was used to wash in his wudu. So if you keep washing and exceeding your elbows, and keep doing that, then you'll be more beautiful on the Day of Judgment. Okay? And this is one of the advantages of يعني making a good wudu. يعني. Okay, so this hadith was to start with the hands, because the first thing, as Allah mentioned in the Quran, in the verse of wudu, فَاغْسِلُوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ, wash your hands. Okay, now, powering without rubbing does not satisfy washing. Washing is both powering and rubbing. Okay? Yani, if you just pour water like this, it will not be washed unless there is some kind of rubbing, either by your hand or by the strength of the water. If it was strong, no problem. But just يعني, to pour lightly on the hand, this is not washing. You wash by doing at least this. Okay? Once is enough. If you do it 2, that's better. If you do it 3, that's even better. Don't exceed 3, because the Prophet ﷺ never exceeded 3. Even if shaitan whispers to you that, well, you still need more, you need to make sure, things like that, don't pay attention to the whispers. Just seek refuge in Allah from those whispers and continue your wudu. Wudu normally doesn't take more than a minute or 2. If you find yourself spending more time, then you should treat yourself from this. It's not needed. Okay. Some people who follow the whispers of the devil take 2 hours to make wudu. 2 hours. See, 60 times as much as the normal wudu, which is 1 or 2 minutes. You see. So wudu is a simple thing, alhamdulillah. No. The next hadith, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, if I forbade you from something, then do stay away from it. And if I order you with something, then do it as much as you can. Agreed upon. Now, this applies to wudu and every other thing. This is a general statement. And Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever the messenger orders, you must follow and do, and whatever he abstains you from or forbids you, you should abstain from. So this is exactly as the verse in Quran have said. But here, the Prophet ﷺ made a little slight difference. When he said, don't do, he didn't say as much as you can. Why? Because leaving something doesn't need an ability, actually. You don't have to put any effort, you see. Not like doing. Doing, you have to put some effort. Either body effort or wealth effort or something like that. Like, do your Hajj. You need money to go to Hajj, so you spend and this. But don't drink intoxicating drinks. Well, you don't have to pay money not to drink. You don't have to do anything. Just leave it. You see? Just leave it. So this is the point. And this order here, or this hadith is here to show 2 things. One, which relates to what we started today, and that is the action has to be according to the Sunnah, according to the Sharia. This is the second condition of every worship. The first was the intention, purity of intention, that we explained by the hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, the first hadith. And now, this is the second condition here, applies. That the Messenger ﷺ says here, don't do what I have not ordered you, whether in wudu, or in salat, or in any other worship. That's why the scholars say that ibadah is based on forbiddance, abstinence, and عادة or يعني habits and dealings and things like that is based on allowance. You see, in worship everything is haram. You don't do except that which Allah has ordered you and the Messenger ordered you. You see, يعني in worship, for example, you start the salah, say Allahu Akbar, and then for no apparent reason, no distractions is in front of you, but you say, I close my eye, it's better for me, for my tranquility and devotion. No, you cannot do this. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ was more concerned for our devotion and tranquility, and he didn't teach us that. He taught us to look straight to the position of prostration all through the salat. You see? He said, don't look up in salat, because if you look up, especially at that time, the masjid has no ceiling. So if it's in the daytime, the sun will distract you, other things will distract you. If it's at night, all kinds of stars are clear and everything, because no electricity, nothing. So you'll be wandering here and there. Oh, that's Mars. That's this. That's this. So your prayer will be lost. You see, because your heart will be directed towards looking here and there, and especially Shaitan is your enemy, and he wants to spoil your prayer. Even if you have no interest to look, he'll bring you the interest at that time. Okay? Which reminds me, one scholar said, whenever I forgot something valuable, I would go and pray, And he said, as soon as I start my prayers, Shaitan will whisper to me, oh, you have left it here, you have left it there. He reminds him where he left it. Okay. So he's smarter than Shaitan here. because he's only praying to get what he wants. But not the obligatory prayer, of course, extra prayers. Okay, so, but now, unfortunately, the Muslims don't pay a lot of attention for this tranquility or devotion in prayer. We'll come to it, inshallah, when the hadith is mentioned. So this is one thing, that you don't do anything in any worship without a proof. The Prophet ﷺ said in the true hadith, من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد. He who does an action that we have not done, then it is rejected. It is rejected. Okay? And he said, من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو إيش؟ فهو رد. He who starts something in our worship that is not originally from it, that's not done by us, meaning him and his companions, then it is rejected. Okay? So this is very important. And this is according to Quran, because when Allah said, من كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. He who wishes to meet with his Lord, and with his Lord being pleased with him, then let him do a righteous action. Righteous meaning good, according to Sunnah, according to Sharia. And let him not commit shirk in that action. And that is the impurities of intention. So it's a form of shirk. It's a small shirk, but it's a form of shirk. Okay? And if someone does everything with impurities, his salat, his fasting, his charity, all his good deeds, then he is not a Muslim, because he has done nothing. even though he is under the illusion that he has done a lot of things. He has done nothing, you see. Because someone who dies with no action at all, not a Muslim. Because in Islam, faith is what? A statement and an action. The statement of the heart and the statement of the tongue, the action of the heart and the action of the limbs. Huh? 4 things in faith. Okay? When Imam Bukhari rahimahullah said, I have met with 1,000 scholars and I have heard from all of them say, Iman is both a statement and action. He means 2 statements and 2 actions. The statement of the heart is to believe in something and to admit to its truthfulness. But is admittance by itself enough to be the faith of the heart? No. You might admit that this is from Allah, but you might hate it. Think that, why did Allah make us believe in this? If you hate something, then you are not faithful. You see, if something is from Allah, you cannot hate it. You have no choice but to love it and to think that it is the best. Whether it's a faith or it's an action or it's a statement. Okay, so this is the first thing. And then from this hadith, the second thing is the order of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Allah orders and the Messenger orders, then as the scholars of the fundamentals of fiqh, they say, al-aslu fil amr al-wujub, meaning when an order comes either from Allah or His Messenger, then the basic thing or the foundation of this order means that it's an obligation. But sometimes the Messenger orders or Allah orders, but it's not an obligation. It's only a recommendation. Or sometimes an allowance. It's not even recommended. It's allowed. You can do it and you can leave it. Okay?
Well, how would you know which is which?
Okay. The normal thing is that it's an obligation, because this is the meaning of order in Arabic and in any other language, you see. But sometimes the Messenger ﷺ wants to recommend something strongly, so he put it in the form of order, then he himself specifies that it is otherwise. That's clear? He specifies.